Hey folks, Tito here with the Buckeye Bliss, powered by DSP Media on FanStream Sports. Thanks so much for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter, @FitHappens, where you get to that. We got a lot to get into today. Go to the FanStreamSports.com website as well for all of our great content. Download the free app for Apple and Android users so you can get all of our live programming we have out there. And there's even a FanStream Sports Facebook group doing that with the hosts and other fans. All right, let's talk football first. The Big Ten and SEC want to go to either 14 or 16 teams, with their conferences getting 4 guaranteed berths each in the CFP, the 2 for the ACC and the Big 12, 1 for Group of 5, and then 3 wild cards. It could be anybody. It's a power play by the Power 2 is what it is, and they're trying to ensure that every year they get at least 4 people into the CFP. But quite frankly, the way the conferences are set up right now, they should get 4 teams in. Without having to be automatic, they should get 4 teams in. So there'll be more on that, and there's something else, another development we'll get into next time about the CFP and what's going to happen next with that and some of the potential changes that could be coming as soon as this season or then 2026 maybe. All right. The hiring Matt Patricia as defensive coordinator puts the finishing touches on the staff for the Ohio State football team in 2025. You got Patricia, defensive coordinator. You got Brian Hartline promoted to offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach still, and he's going to do the play calling, which is a big deal. The offensive line coach who replaced Justin Fry is Tyler Bowen. He's 35 years old, be 36 in July. He was the OC and quarterback coach at Virginia Tech. So another guy who, much like Chip Kelly, took a step back to go forward. And we'll talk about that in a second. Keenan Bailey's the co-offensive coordinator and tight end coach after being the tight end coach last year. Tim Walton's the co-defensive coordinator, secondary and cornerbacks. And then Billy Fessler is the new QB's coach. And Will Howard spoke glowingly of him and the way he helped him this season. So all these changes could be great for Ohio State. Jim Knowles was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And Chip Kelly, also fantastic. But look at what Chip Kelly did. Now, he left head coach at UCLA to come to Ohio State and took a pay cut. And now he's the highest paid coordinator in the NFL with $6 million annually. It's double the $3 million being paid to the next 2 highest. The next 2 highest are getting paid $3 million each in the NFL. Chip Kelly doubles that as the OC. Jim Knowles turned his time at Ohio State into a $3.1 million annual salary with Penn State. Great for Jim Knowles. You get Matt Patricia back. It's kind of like, could be the defensive equivalent of what Chip Kelly did. And that's what's nice about this now. Ohio State, is as long as they don't like completely botch a hire, they can keep doing this where, maybe Patricia leaves after a year. Maybe they have a great year defensively and he leaves after a year. Same thing, potentially when you look at someone like with the offensive line coach who replaced Justin Fry, Tyler Bowen. Now, he took a step back. He was an offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at Virginia Tech. He comes here to be the offensive line coach. And he's a young guy, but he's somebody who absolutely recognizes if I take a step back, but have more talent to work with, then potentially it'll springboard into something bigger. And if Ohio State can do this, and if I'm Ryan Day and have to replace coaches for whatever reason, Justin Fry went because what Justin Fry was able to do at the end of his time, his last, really the CFP with Ohio State, what he was able to do with the offensive line, that was a springboard to get to the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals. So big deals all around. And if your coaches, not Power 2, maybe not even Power 4 coaches, but although there are some Power 4 coordinators, obviously like Tyler Bowen at Virginia Tech, but you might be willing to take a step back in title to take a huge step forward very quickly within a couple years. And I've said before about Ohio State, if you're an offensive or defensive coordinator, either one, if you have a chance to go to Ohio State, you're going to have more talent than the other team 90% of the time. 90%, maybe even 95%. But like how many times this year will the team lines up opposite of Ohio State have better personnel? The Ohio State defense, a lot of holes to fill. Texas, maybe Texas's offense is a little bit better than Ohio State's defense will be. But after that, Grambling, OU, look at the rest of the schedule. There's not going to be some huge disparity anywhere with the talent until you get to maybe the CFP. Penn State game is here in Columbus. And interesting because of Jim Knowles, that'll be on November 1st. Obviously, that team up north, last game of the season. But most of the time, you're going to have superior talent in whatever schemes you want to use. And you have depth for days with this. And that's what is interesting about Ohio State, Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Look at all the coordinators that Sarkisian had to replace and the guys he brought in that went to something bigger, Sarkisian and Lane Kiffin, what Nick Saban did with those guys when they were on a rehab. And I called coaching rehab. I'm not saying about the drinking problem Sarkisian had, but I called when Chip Kelly resigned from UCLA to come to Ohio State, I called it a prehab because he was pre-rehabbing because he was going to lose his job at UCLA. And it looks much better on your resume if you can say, they didn't push me, I jumped. I broke up with them, is what he did, essentially, to quote the whole Costanza thing. All right. So I think all these changes could be great for this Ohio State coaching staff. QB competition, we'll talk about some of those positions now. They would like to come down to Julian Sand or Lincoln Kienholz. Kienholz has been with OSU longer. His first significant playing time, though, was that awful Cotton Bowl at the end of the 2023 season when they played Missouri. He had to come in because Devin Brown went out. The offensive line did a terrible job in that game. Kienholz went just 6 of 17 in relief, and the game, Ohio State's offense could do nothing. So I'd be very surprised if, Sane, who transferred here last year when Saban abruptly or surprisingly resigned, he decided to take that opportunity. My head coach is leaving. I'm going to transfer out before ever playing for Alabama. Comes here. I would be very surprised if Sane doesn't win the job. And I'm also curious what Kienholz will do if that happens. Because Kienholz should be solidly in that number 2 position, much like Devin Brown was last year, although Sane got plenty of reps because I think that Ryan Day knew that Sane was the next guy after Will Howard. So the third member of the quarterback room right now is Tavion St. Clair, the freshman 5-star from Bell Fountain. I love this kid. He's 6'4", 228, has a rocket for an arm. So there's the 3 quarterbacks that you'll primarily be there getting the action for Ohio State in the practices leading into the regular season. Brown, of course, Devin Brown has transferred to Cal. The other 2 QBs that were prominent in the quarterback room last year were Will Howard, who obviously going to the NFL now, and Aaron Noland, who's off to South Carolina. Ryan Day's got to be careful with this quarterback position because he doesn't want to get the reputation of always getting his starting quarterback from the transfer portal. Kyle McCord, reports are, and I've talked to a couple people that have pretty good insight on this, McCord wanted to be guaranteed the starting job going into this season. And when I think he and his dad talked to Ryan Day about this. And when Ryan Day said, I'm not going to guarantee you the starting job right now, that's when McCord decided to leave. So you could also say he jumped versus being pushed. Probably a little of both, though, because I'm sure Ryan Day did not expect, Kyle McCord to stick around. So, but you bring in Will Howard, he's got 1 year left, and had fantastic success. No doubt about it. Fantastic success. Much like Cam Ward had at Miami this year. Fantastic success. But you don't want to have the reputation of doing that because then you'll have young guys leaving. Aaron Noland, great talent. Came in much ballyhooed as a 5-star quarterback also, and then left after 1 season. If they would all of a sudden put Lincoln Kienholz as a starter, Julian Sane might leave. And so that's what you got to be careful that you want to come across as a program that develops quarterbacks, and you bide your time, and you'll become the starter. You bide your time, you learn, be a great student of the game, and you take advantage of the opportunities you have, and eventually you'll be the starter. I think Sane will probably start 2 years and then be off the NFL, and then it'll be after that you'll have St. Clair take over. That'd be the ideal timeline thing for Ohio State. If you can do things like that, to where every quarterback you get now is at least a 2-year guy, maybe a 3-year guy, like with 1 redshirt year and then 2 years before he would go. That'd be the way you want to do this because you don't want to lose the trust of the rest of the team with the quarterbacks, the other quarterbacks as well, for sure. And with the QB, you want one. You want one to be clearly one. You want to certainly have the guy that there's no doubt about it. Ohio State had the terrible time when they tried to with the Stanley Jackson and Joe Germain, sometimes rotating series for the year with Ohio State, and then team was divided on who should start. That was not a good year for Ohio State football quarterbacks. You don't want to have something like that. Along those lines, the offensive line last year was much maligned, oft injured. And then they unlocked something in the CFP that played a big role in the successful postseason. They, the injuries and the lineup shuffling that took place on the line forced a lot of different players in and out of the lineup. Because of that, there is experience coming back and experience coming in. As Philip Daniels comes in from Minnesota, Ethan Onanawa from Rice, both transferred in to compete at tackle. They've got plenty of guys that have experience now. And the offensive line should be more consistent and better this year as long as they can keep staying healthy. So, one other note, I have openly mocked Matt Rule for canceling the spring game this year at Nebraska because he said that he doesn't want teams get free looks at his players in game situations and then try to poach them in the transfer portal after the spring game. I said that was I think I called him insecure is what I did for doing that. Well, now that's going to be more the norm. Ohio State's not having their spring game this year. They're going to have like kind of a fan fest type thing where maybe players will do certain things, but it won't be games. USC and I believe Texas both are also canceling their spring games. I know Texas is, and the reason they're doing it, and it makes the same reason why Ryan Day is starting spring practice later. Sarkisian says, look, in previous years, we'd have our last game of the season, and then in 30 days, we'd have a bowl game. He said this year, after our last game of the season with A&M, we had the CFP, or we had the conference championship game. Then after that, they had they hosted the playoff game. Then they had the quarterfinal, semifinal. They had the 3 games like that that they had to keep playing. So they played a very busy schedule. And the thought is, and it's the way it's going to be more and more often now, is let's not do something crazy and have these guys get hit again in the spring. It just doesn't make a lot of long-term sense for the players to do something like that. I see more and more of that happening going forward. You'll see more spring games get canceled, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right if they want to do that. We have more on that also later on. So let's talk about now hoops. We are damn close to March Madness. In recent years, March has been a much different experience for the OSU men versus the OSU women. They yesterday marked the 1 year since Jake Diebler was named interim men's coach, replacing Chris Holtman. And you remember his first game was that stunning win against number 2 Purdue. Since taking over, he is 21-13 with a .617 winning percentage. Holtman at his time here at a .614. Thad is the standard, the magnificent one with .725. Jim O'Brien was just a .601, and you take out the vacated games, it drops to .472. Randy Ayers, who had a good run at Ohio State, his winning percentage was .534. Gary Williams was .590. Eldon Miller, .591. So Diebler is doing something amazing. And think about how much different the program looks now, how much different it feels watching that team versus how it did the last couple of years at the end of the season with Chris Holtman. It's night and day. I like Holtman. I think Holtman's a wonderful man, and I think he did a lot of great things at Ohio State. But Jake Diebler's doing something different, and you could just feel it when you watch this team. OSU enters their home game against Northwestern tonight with a 15-11 overall record, 7-8 in the Big Ten. Northwestern is 13-13. They're 4-11 in the Big Ten, but they're 0-8 on the road. So this is a must-win for Ohio State. Ohio State has lost 3 of their last 5 games. They had the tough one at Illinois, the bad loss at Nebraska, the heartbreaker against Michigan, and in between they had that incredible win over Maryland, and they blew out Washington. After this game, they will have 5 games left. 5 regular season games left. They're at UCLA, that's coming up on Sunday, at USC, they'll host Nebraska, and at Indiana. So out of these 6 games, those 5 in the Northwestern game tonight, if they go 3-3, that would put them at 18-14, 10-11 in the conference. The loss to Michigan still hurts dramatically for Ohio State, but OSU still has a top 15 strength of schedule. The Buckeyes are currently 29th in the net rankings, 27th in KenPom, also good indicators that they're trending the right way towards the tournament. Still projected to be in the tournament. If they can go 4-2 in these last 6, getting 19-13, and they get at least one Big Ten tournament win, I think they get in for sure. UCLA and Nebraska are expected to be in the tournament. The other 4 on the docket are not. So yes, UCLA and Nebraska are predicted to be in the tournament. Indiana, USC, Northwestern, and what was the other one there? Northwestern. Yeah. So anyway, those are UCLA and Nebraska are supposed to be in the tournament. The other 4 need to be wins. Bruce Thornton has been outstanding lately, except I would say except for the air ball that played a big role down the stretch. They could have tied or beat Michigan in that game. But in the last 5 games, he has right now 27 assists and just 4 turnovers. He's averaging 18.8 points per game these last 5.4 assists. You've got Devin Royal stepping up. Devin Royal's averaging these last 5 games 14.4 points, 6.2 rebounds. You've got John Mobley, the freshman, in his last 5 games, 17.2 points per game and 44% on threes. You've also got Micah Parrish, who is he's got the last 5 games, 15.4 points per game, 5 rebounds a game. Sean Stewart is second on the team in rebounding. Doesn't play as much as these guys, doesn't score as much. He grabbed just 10 rebounds, though, in just 26 minutes against Michigan. So keep in mind, Diebler has, this team Diebler has not had Michi Johnson since December 14th. He was expected to be a huge contributor this year. They have not had him. They've been missing Aaron Bradshaw for a while. So, at different times. And this team is they've got the backcourt that can contend for a deep run in the NCAA tournament. The question with this team is going to continue to be the rebounding. They need to rebound better, which means Bradshaw's got to play well. They need a lot out of Devin Royal. They need a lot out of Parrish. And, Bradshaw, if he can get going, that'd be great. But now Sean Stewart keep doing what he's doing. Joe Lunardi's most recent bracketology has OSU as a 9 seed with a first-round game against UConn. Wouldn't that be fun? And likely Duke next. All right, let's go to the women. Because the 8th-ranked Ohio State women are at Indiana tonight. The Ohio State women are 22-3 overall, 11-3 in the Big Ten. Indiana is 16-9, 8-6. This will be the only meeting between these teams this conference season. The last 4 games have been tough for Ohio State. They lost at UCLA by 13, lost at USC by 21. They blew a big lead down the stretch in an 87-84 win at home against Minnesota, and they barely escaped Iowa 86-78 in overtime at home. Another game they had a lead that should have sufficed, and they let Iowa get back into it. Tonight, it will be very important for Ohio State to jump out to a lead and don't let Indiana get back in it. After this, Ohio State hosts Purdue, who's 9-17, 2-13 in the conference. They also host 22nd-ranked Michigan, 19-7 overall, 9-6 in the conference, and they finish at Maryland, ranked 21st right now, who are 20-6 and 10-5. So the last 2, the Indiana game will be a nice test for Ohio State, but then the Michigan and Maryland games certainly will be really difficult or really important for this team. This team is deep. It's allowing Kevin McGuff to defend from baseline to baseline as he's always done. Cody McMahon, Jelani Cambridge, Chance Gray, Taylor Theory, Aja Petty. They're all playing more than 20 minutes a game. So they've got depth. If girls get tired, if the women get tired from the pressing, they've got plenty of people they can bring back in. The Buckeyes, they do also have to work on their rebounding. That was their Achilles heel last year. They're getting out rebounded about an average of about 2.4 per game right now, but they are generating 13 steals to 5.5. They're winning the turnover battle by 10.5 per game. So they're doing all the things they normally do. They just have to get better at rebounding. They have to get better. UCLA is going to be a tough team to beat if they have to face them in the Big Ten tournament or somewhere in the NCAA tournament. UCLA's got size and they know how to use it. Joe Lunardi's most recent bracketology has Ohio State as a 4 seed. And keep in mind, they need to finish strong because the top 4 seeds in each region are hosting the first 2 rounds. All right, that's it for the Buckeye Blitz. Again, go download the app. It's for free it's free for Apple and Android users. Next time, we'll address the other position groups that we didn't talk about today for the upcoming college football season and recap the men's and women's hoop games from Thursday night. That's it for now. Follow me on Twitter @ThatHappens. Have a great day.